Welcome back to another tutorial. Now today we're going to use a new container that I've recently bought. If you've been with me for a while, then you'll know that I have a tendency to pick up secondhand and vintage containers from the charity shop. This one is from Amazon and it's probably not as tall as I was expecting it to be, but I wanted to buy a couple of containers that you would be able to get hold of through Amazon. So I've linked any new product in the description box below, and then you can follow the link and purchase one on Amazon should you need to buy one. It's a little sort of milk churn in a lovely creamy colour with a bit of rusty sort of gold colouring on it. And I'm going to use just a really small piece of wire netting on the top. I've got some quite floaty, rustic garden type flowers to put in here. And if possible, I want the design to be quite wide. And I don't think I'm going to be able to achieve that without using some type of support on the top. So all I've done really with the wire mesh is just formed 2 or 3 layers, and I've sat it in the neck of the vase. That's just going to help me get some side movements and really extend the design out at the side. It's only a small container, so I don't really want to go very large because it's going to be out of proportion with my base. But it's a narrow neck and I don't want all of the flowers just to go straight up in a vertical position. So I'm hoping that the addition of that small amount of wire mesh in the top is going to help me extend my flowers out to the side. Now everything that I've got to use today is locally grown. Apart from the Pampas Grass, the rest of it is from my garden. And if you've been flower arranging for a while, then you might not be a lover of Pampas Grass. It might remind you of the 1970s, but it is a hugely fashionable flower with brides that are getting married at the moment. And I've just done a Pampas Grass wedding, so I thought I'd use what was left to show you how you can create a fabulous design. Now if I'm using the Pampas Grass at that full length, it's a little bit too long and out of proportion with my container. So I'm going to break it down into 2 pieces. This one can quite naturally cascade over onto the one side. I'm just going to remove any of the feathery seed heads off the bottom so that the water is all nice and clean. And I'm going to arrange, starting with getting my side placements in. And you all know I really love to go with an asymmetrical design. So I'm going to try and get a piece slightly taller on the opposite side. And I've got a really small offcut, which I think is going to work quite well to give me an extra bit of height. Oh, how's that? That's quite lovely. Now, any taller than that, and I'm really going to be out of proportion with my container. I'm not going to use any more Pampas Grass for a minute, but I am going to use some really floaty, airy September flower. Now, I'm lucky enough to be able to grow this in my garden. It is a little bit of a messy flower because it doesn't really follow any structure or any pattern in the garden. It randomly self-seeds itself and comes up in different locations, and it's not a very long-lasting flower in the garden. So its common name is September because it generally flowers in September. It probably only lasts about 3 weeks, I would say, in the garden, and then it's past its best. So you might see it in quite a few arrangements over the next couple of weeks. And really, I'm just making use of its natural curves. It likes to bend down and sway, so it really suits being on the edge of the container. And if I show you the design from that position, you'll see that the design is very flat. We don't have any depth. I've only gone left and right. I don't have any flower content at the back, and I don't have anything towards the front. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to start adding some lighter pieces to the front and to the back, and then that will make my design 3-dimensional. And you know how much I like to tell you that a design has to have depth so that it has 3 dimension and it doesn't look really flat and solid at the back. In between that really soft and floaty September flower. Now what I'm going to do with a few pieces is cut them shorter and take them quite low, so that they're almost sitting on top of the wire netting, on top of that chicken wire base. It's going to help hide the chicken wire and disguise it, and it's going to give me some depth in the arrangement. Draw your eye right down into the center. We tend to call this recession. This one has got a lovely angled head, so I'm going to use that on the outside. But what I'm mainly doing here is compacting it towards the middle, and it's going to give me a little bit of a bed for my sunflowers to sit on top of. Remember not to put any flowers in that have short stems, because they won't have access to the water down low. And now I've got a bit of a structure, a bit of an outline shape, some support for my sunflowers. I'm now going to add in those magnificent big brown sunflowers. Now, I've grown these myself this year in the garden. They're probably not going to last much longer, but I have been really enjoying them when I look out of the window. My garden's looking a bit sad now. The majority of the flowers are past their best and starting to die away. So I thought I'd pick a few, bring them in and show you. And I'm going to do the same. I'm going to start with them on one side and then carry that colour from one side over to the opposite side. I've got, I think, about 5 altogether. I did pick them a few days ago, so hopefully they're all still quite good quality. And now with the bigger heads, I'm going to sit them in the middle on top of that little sort of frame or that cushion of the Achillea there in the middle. Absolutely gorgeous. Look at the size on them. Now they may be, possibly they're a little bit too big for my container, but I couldn't resist them. I'm going to remove all of the leaves because the leaves of sunflowers don't last particularly well. I'm going to sit them on top of one another like layers, slightly adjust, open up the arrangement. Don't worry if some of your flowers move around. I think I'm going to have to cut this one. That one's not going to stay where I put it. I think I'm going to cut this one a tiny bit shorter so it's more towards the front. That one then can sit on top and he can go back in the position. Come on, stay where you're supposed to be. There we are, that's better. So we've got a bit more colour of the sunflowers there in the front, but the colour is really nicely cascading from one side to the other. They are very big. Now what I'm going to do with this one, because he's looking a bit sad, a bit raggedy, his petals are almost starting to drop. So I'm going to take the outer petals off and just use that darker seed head in the middle. Gives me a different shape, different look, and I'm going to raise this one above the main display of flowers to give me that sort of asymmetrical balance. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower this one down, because now I've ended up with them on a fairly similar height and it doesn't work quite so well. So that's better. I can sit down there, snuggle up with all the other flowers. Now I do have one left and I'm thinking if I added it at the front, it's going to be really too visually heavy. So what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to do the same. I'm going to remove those petals off the sides, and then I can raise this one up on this side to give me a little bit of asymmetrical height. Now I have just noticed there is quite a lot of water on my table, which possibly means my container is leaking, which is not really very good for a new product. And at this point, I'm going to remind you, if you ever buy a new container, check it's waterproof first before you make a YouTube video. Right, let's turn that round. Oh, I love the way that's come together. So, really pretty seasonal design. No floral foam, so it's much more environmentally friendly. Everything has come from the garden or from friends and family's gardens, so it's a good, sustainable and environmentally friendly design. And that's really autumn and a vase for me, so I hope you've enjoyed that one. As ever, thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. If I haven't already said so, the majority of people that watch these tutorials aren't subscribed, and it's really helpful for me to grow this channel. We're nearly at 10,000 subscribers, which is absolutely amazing, but it really does help if you subscribe, if you like and you comment and you share with as many people as possible, so we can get this channel to really grow. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you next time. Goodbye for now.